Hi, I'm Jeff Cohn, back again with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we teach individual agents and team leaders and broker owners how to scale a successful and dominant real estate team. We're just coming off of the annual Berkshire Hathaway event that was in Las Vegas last week, and our team, Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group, my flagship team, was just awarded the #1 team in all of Berkshire Hathaway in unit sales for our 2018 630 sides that we sold. So we're really excited about that. But let's get into the guests today. We have Gary Boomershine with us. Gary is a master at lead generation for real estate investing. And I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast are focused on building a team, but what do we do with all of the disposable income that we generate? Are we investing in the stock market? Did we buy into Bitcoin? Are we buying rental property? Are we assisting people? Are we assisting ourselves along with our clients and acquiring both single family and multifamily? Gary's going to teach us more about this. They send over 1 million pieces of mail a month. That's 12 million pieces of mail every single year. And they made over, to date, 350,000 outbound calls to follow up with these mailing pieces. I have personally been using REIVault, which is the company Gary started for acquiring rental property in Omaha. And Gary, to date, we're buying an average of 3 houses a week, 12 houses a month. We've been doing phenomenal. So without further ado, Gary Boomershine, welcome to the call today.
Oh man, Jeff, it's so awesome. I love this. I know that I interviewed you a couple weeks ago for our podcast, and gosh, you and Clint are awesome. So I'm here to deliver some great value for your listeners. And I know that a lot of people in your community are focused on team building, but one of the things is, how do we get massive leverage and economies of scale, right? And one of them is using other people's time, other people's money, other people's experiences and resources. And so I built REIVault really as a complete outsourced marketing and inside sales team for top producing agents and investors. And loving it, man.
Gary, you've been in the trenches too, right? You mentioned you were a licensed agent as of 2004.
No, actually, it's even longer. I just turned 50. My wife and I
look great for 50, brother.
Thanks, brother. I think my wife calls it the midlife crisis. She's like, "Hey, you've dropped weight and you're doing keto and intermittent fasting." And it's like, keep it up. I like it. But anyway,
Gary is doing it, by the way. I mentioned to him I was dropping some LBs, and he sent me this long-ass email of all these different strategies he's implementing with making sure you get enough sleep and don't eat until after 11. And a lot of the strategies were things I had implemented to drop my first 50, but I've got a ways to go to catch up to you, buddy.
Oh, man. Yeah, so my story, I grew up in a family real estate business. We owned Boomershine Realtors. It was in the Oakland Hills in Piedmont, California, and right where the fire was many years ago. And we were all my story is we were all kind of forced almost at gunpoint to get our real estate license. So in 1987, 3 weeks after turning 18, I was a licensed agent holding open houses. We had rental properties. So I was there fixing and,
I was in kindergarten.
I know, isn't that funny?
How do you compete with this?
So 19, I went down a different path. Got a computer engineering degree, primarily computer science and engineering. I worked for one of the largest technology consulting firms called Accenture. Was originally Arthur Andersen. I was one of 2 people that got recruited. So I went down the technology path, but I kept my license. It's actually how I paid for college. I held open houses. I'd literally drive back and forth on the weekends and hold open houses and listings and door knocking and everything else. But I had my license from 1987. I did get rid of it in 2005 because 2004, I decided to leave the technology niche. I did 4 technology startups on the sales side. I was an enterprise sales rep, and then ran the Western region for one of the companies, and decided, you know what, my wife and I, let's get back into brick and mortar. Let's get back into what we really know. And we started buying apartments. That was 2004. And my attorney said, Gary, you're not really listing properties. You're in California. You should probably consider getting rid of your license because you're going to be held at a higher regard. And I've bought and sold, 400 or 500 houses. I do a massive amount of private lending and run REIVault, which is, we got about 75 people working for us around the world. Actually, I know we have something super in common because I use 1,000 calls a day to build our phone team, and they're fantastic. But yeah, it's fun. I actually just funded today. I just funded 2 loans in California.
Oh, wow.
I
So
do a
you're
ton
doing
of
all sorts of stuff. I think
Yeah.
it's awesome, your background. Gary is a systems master. So obviously to grow to the scale, he's at 1 million pieces a month of mail going out across all of your different clients. I think that's fascinating. And like I had mentioned earlier, we're also using their systems and they do a great job at split testing. And then every piece of mail that goes out has a different phone number. And you can track in the backend CRM that they use is Podio. It's like the Boomtown for realtor investors. And it tracks everything just like Boomtown would. So you know when the call came in, if the call connected, if they leave a voicemail, obviously you have access to that recording, and then they use their call team to follow up. So your agents or your acquisition managers aren't wasting their time with scrubbing the leads. Their call people scrub the leads. They send out drip email, drip text, all sorts of stuff until the lead is ready to meet in person. And that's when you hand it over to an acquisition manager. So what was interesting, Gary, when you interviewed me, we talked about the different systems I had created in residential that will apply to investing. And the same rule works in the reverse. So what we kind of discovered was the systems aren't that different. It's just going after a different thing. So speak to me. We talked off record a little bit about how to the traditional agents trying to generate traditional leads, we argue sometimes it's easier, we think, to find the off-market deals that we can acquire than it is to even find a potential seller that wants to list traditionally.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm really, really well known in the real estate investor niche. So the company is realestateinvestor.com. That's the name of our business. REIVault is the platform. And it wasn't until I was invited by REIVault, the radio and TV experts last year. They invited us to New York. We actually were there, and we were told that we were like the secret weapon for real estate. And I didn't even know this. Actually, Team Lolly out of Hawaii, one of the top producing groups, basically got up and on stage and they said, by the way, everybody, there were about 200 people at the event. And they said, our secret weapon that probably nobody even knows about in our niche is this REIVault. These guys are doing a massive amount of direct response marketing, going after off-market sellers. Mm-hmm. They've got unique mailing lists and a secret formula plus a phone team. And these are lists. These are properties that most sell. They're inherited type of properties. People that have owned properties a long, long, long time. There's over 18 million of them. We call it our invisible list. We have another one that's called the shipwreck list. And we've been doing this for investors. But what Team Lolly said is that about 10% of the leads are really good for investors, right? That are making all cash, low ball offers typically. 90% are for listings.
Traditional listings.
Traditional listings. And so they said that's our secret weapon. They're coming in, they're giving the seller the two offer approach. Hey, this is what we think we could get if we listed your property and did it right. And if you wanted an all cash offer right now, boom. And
yep.
And a lot, you'd be shocked. A lot. I know that we've got somebody in outside of Minneapolis. I think in the first 3 months, he said we generated him 64 seller appointments. Right? They did nothing. We actually generated the lead, text and ringless voicemail, which is part of our follow-up technology, and then right over to the phone team who's actually getting on the phone and having a really good dialogue and scheduling the appointment, right? Motivated, qualified, pre-screened seller ready to go. And I know that they said that they bought like 15 houses.
And I believe it.
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing. How I came up with this, I was originally using it for my own business, Jeff, but it wasn't until I was actually at a mastermind. One of the top, these are all 7-figure, guys, there's about 120 of us, 7- and 8-figure real estate investors. It's called the Collective Genius. And I'm sitting in there and everybody's talking and sharing about what's working right now. And they were talking about, okay, here's the secret postcard. Here's the type of list, right? We're doing follow-up sequences, a drip sequence where seller comes in. We want a seller a no left behind, campaign where it's all integrated, where they're getting text messages, right, for the next 2 to 3 years. They're getting ringless voicemail, possibly email, a follow-up letter, right? If they come in off a postcard and they're not ready to sell, we're actually going to put a follow-up letter and continue dripping on them and over to the phone team, right? And so I sat there and I'm like, guys, everybody's talking about this, but we all have to go back and implement it. What if we just built one shared team? Right? We had one team just for us. None of us are competing. And so anyway, they liked the idea. I built it. I originally did it with the idea of doing some deal splits where I could take a cut of the revenue, and then that was brain damage.
Yep.
And so about 3.5 years ago, a pretty well-known guy in the niche actually gave me a tip. He said, Gary, if you could do all of this, if you could manage the marketing, if you could execute the marketing, if you could guarantee the lowest price mail, right? You could do everything for them with a really, a team of like 40 for the cost of one resource. And so I'm like, oh, let me run the math. So for less than $10 an hour, right, we do everything. So for $2,000 a month, we have the ability of not only executing the marketing better than anybody else in the country to drive seller leads, set up the system, but also the phone follow-up. Relentless, high quality people that are picking up the phone and calling sellers.
And
so we did.
I had mentioned to Gary off record, we're sending out all these mailing pieces in Omaha, and every week we do like undercover boss where I split tests and I call the number and see how well the phone team does. And Gary had mentioned 1,000 calls. It's actually a business I own in the Philippines that REIVault uses as well to build their lead acquisition and lead conversion team as well. So the questions that they have trained their callers to make are incredible. They did a great job pre-qualling the lead. It was about a 10-minute phone call. They went through a list of like 10 or 15 questions. And then, of course, they report on what the answers were to all those questions when they do finally highlight the lead and send it over. So for anyone listening, if you caught the drift of this in a nutshell, 90% of the leads that are getting generated are listing traditionally on the market or are able to list traditionally. The typical offer, like I went on an appointment yesterday with Clint, usually we're offering 30% below market after repair value. So if we go to a house that would be worth 100,000, that if you did a traditional CMA on it, you'd say, hey, I think it's going to list for about 100 and sell for 95, something like that. We'll go in and offer 55 or 60. And people are always like, that's insane. Who would ever take that offer? Well, 1 out of 10 does. So how awesome to add this as an additional strategy. It's the buy now strategy. When you go on every listing presentation, you'll say, hey, good news. Today I have an offer for you. It's 30% below market. It's the investor price, but there's advantages to a seller that doesn't want showings. Maybe they're hoarders. Like you had mentioned, Gary, maybe the family had acquired the property and they just don't want to hassle with real estate agents. And so it gives them another way. And so for anyone that's listing 10, 15, even 20 houses a year, this strategy works. It's awesome for $2,000 a month, like you said. Done for you, callers, scrubbing, drip emails. It's all set up in the back end of Podio, and you're only talking to people that say, yes, I want to sell my house.
Absolutely. And, the way it works is people will give us a marketing budget. They'll say, hey, I want to buy or I want to get 2 listings a month or 3 listings a month. We have a lot of guys they give us a $30,000 to $40,000 a month marketing budget. And then what we end up doing is coming up with the plan saying, here's exactly what we believe. We're predictive. 27 million pieces of direct mail. I have the response rate on all of it. So I know exactly what works in what market. I can predict pretty darn closely that, hey, this particular piece is going to outperform this particular piece, and we're going to get a 2.6% response rate. We've got follow-up letters that are typically like an 8 to 12% response rate. So we know that. So we'll come in and we'll build a plan that says, hey, this is what we think your cost per deal is going to look like. This is the number of pieces that we're going to mail out. This is the number of calls that we're going to expect. This is the number that are going to turn into leads. These are going to be the qualified leads. They're going to turn into appointments. They're going to turn into contracts or listings and deals, and what your ROI is going to look like. So we'll do that on the front end, right? Then we'll execute it. We're dropping marketing every single day. By the way, we found that Thursdays and Fridays are the best day of the week, as a little note. A lot of you that are actually on the call, if you're seeing a lot of yellow postcards, we were the inventor of those. So if you're seeing some competition from investors, it's probably my company, because we do a lot of marketing. And some of the agents don't necessarily like that, right? It's a Dan Kennedy. Anybody familiar with Dan Kennedy? It's a direct response marketing approach, direct to the seller. What we have found is pretty postcards don't work. We don't do anything pretty. Yep. It's really the copy. It is the right words at the right time to the right people. We call it the 6M. So it's market, message, media, multiple, months, and money, right? So what market? That's the list. What's the message to that list? There's got to be a market to message list. And I will say also, a lot of our marketing is really focused on buying the house, because a lot of people are actually nervous about the whole agent thing. They don't necessarily like real estate agents. And so this is going after a totally different market. A lot of these sellers, their houses are not pretty houses. They're not perfect. They need some work, right? So they may be, a lot of the leads are going to be more investor grade properties. It's awesome if you as an agent, you're also an investor, or maybe you have a cash buyer or a rehabber that you're working with. This is especially, from a team building perspective, it's like, this is truly the business in a box, where if you got a cash buyer, you got a realtor team, it's like, turn it on and go. We execute to it.
Well, and that's exactly what we did. We have 2 full-time acquisition managers out of my 30 agents that specialize in these meetings. And so I have my hat. I want to make the joke, because you show up, you have your investor hat on, which is my real estate hat backwards, and you go in with the investor conversation, eliminate agents. Our marketing says no realtor, no hassle. But once you determine there's no way impossible they're going to take the 30% below market, you flip the hat around and say, well, I so happen to be a licensed real estate agent, and I'd love the opportunity to show you what you'd get in the traditional market. The negative is this and this and this and this. The positive is this and this and this and this. We're really here to help you in either way. We can buy it from you now, no realtor, no hassle, no cost, or we can list it traditionally. You're going to have to spend all this money on fixing it up. The rule is like 10% is about what they're going to lose by going traditional rather than just selling it as is. And so it definitely works. Gary, for anyone listening up to this point, if they wanted to do a quick demo call and find out what the cost is in their area and how many mailing pieces would go out and how many leads you think they'd be able to generate through your REIVault strategies, how would they go about reaching out to have that call with you guys? And is that something?
No, it's a really great question. First and foremost, let me just tell you, we're not a vendor, so you can't just hire us. It's a membership model. You're sharing my team and my resources, and we want to make sure it's a really good fit. There's a lot of moving parts, massive number of moving parts, and there's a massive amount of accountability. There's accountability for us doing a good job, right? And accountability for you, because we're not sitting in your office. And so it's really a application to see if you fit. There's no real sales call. It's going to really be making sure that, hey, you're a great fit for us. We're a great fit for you. We've left no rock unturned. You really have had all your expectations set. You can go out to REIVault, REIVault, like a bank, right? That's actually how it started. It's like our secrets. REIVault.com. You will see if you qualify for membership, and it'll ask you some questions. You can schedule a live conversation with us. You're going to actually talk to a real person. You're going to talk to Julia Jordan, who works in, she's super experienced. She's been working with me for 10 years, and make sure that this is a fit. And talk about your market. We offer semi-exclusivity, so there are markets around the country we're not putting people into. Once a market is locked up, we don't want us competing and sending the same, type of mailing to the same seller. And so we want to make sure there's a fit. And if there is, great. It's a very simple process. We have everything set up, and we have leads coming to you in literally 10 days. So you sign up. You're going to fill out a questionnaire. We're going to really get to know you. What are you looking for? What type of product? Are you looking for multifamily? Are you looking for single family? Are you looking for lots? Give us your background. Do you have a sales team? Because we're going to set them all up as well. And then we'll get on the phone. We're going to do a strategy session. It's a live call where we're going to work together to put together the plan. We're going to execute the plan. And then within 10 days, 7 days, we're dropping mail. Okay. And then we'll continue. And so it's super easy to interact. It's really a team of like having 40 people, experts, working for you for the cost of one resource. And you can go to REIVault.com to learn more. There are a couple other websites. REIVault.com/brochure is a good one. That actually has a kind of a funnel. It's like it's really the, here's all the typical things. If you're going after and trying to find off-market sellers, right? Here's all the stuff you typically have to do perfectly in this market, right? Most of this stuff is $10 an hour work. Really what you want to be you want to be in front of 3 or 4 or 5 sellers a day, right? Yep. Qualified, pre-screened, ready to go, motivated sellers. And so we have the ability of plugging all of that in for you. And awesome. That's a good site. You can check that out. And then get on the phone and chat with us. You're not going to feel sold. We want to make sure it's a fit. And there's no long-term commitment with us. We do ask for, you're going to commit to 3 months, the first 90 days. It is marketing. Frankly, if you're doing marketing, you should be committed to at least 6 months.
I tell people 12.
For sure. For sure. There's a lot of people that's like this start, stop, start, stop. It's like, you know what? It is marketing.
Well,
it's a return on investment.
6 months. Our average lead, we sold 630 sides last year on our traditional real estate team. It took 6 months on average from the point we put a lead into our CRM to the point it went under contract. That's a 6-month relationship. So how can you really know even within 6 months? So
no, absolutely. So that would be it. And love to chat with you if you think that there's a fit here.
REIVault.com. Make sure to reference that you listen to him on our podcast. There might be some type of a little benefit that they can offer to you as well if you let them know you're part of the Elite Real Estate Systems Network or watched the Team Building podcast with Jeff Cohn. The last invitation I'd like to make to anyone listening to this, well, I guess there's two. Gary's going to be speaking at an event I'm hosting in Omaha in May. Once this podcast actually gets released, it's going to be pretty short notice. It'll probably be 3 weeks out, but we still do have tickets available. This is the team building workshop that we host once a month in the Omaha area in conjunction with the annual Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting where Warren Buffett, who's 86 years old, the Oracle of Omaha, will also be speaking. So I'm getting everyone tickets to Saturday's annual Berkshire Hathaway meeting, but all day Friday we'll be doing our workshop and Gary's going to be coming to speak a little bit more about REIVault and the different strategies that they've created. Of course, anyone can try to copy and paste what they've built, but it's going to cost you probably 5 times more to do it on your own and all your time and management. Why not just leverage it to someone else, which is what we talk about with every different position within a successful team that does grow and can scale. Gary's going to be speaking that Friday. So if you want more information about that event, you can go onto our website, eliterealestatesystems.com, click on events. The second event that I'm really pushing really hard right now is our team building summit. That's going to be June 24th through June 26th. REIVault will be there as well. Gary will be in Barcelona, unfortunately, but I do believe they're going to send somebody, and they're going to be speaking with my business partner, Clint, at this event. We're interviewing top BIP team leaders from across the country who've actually successfully scaled their real estate businesses, as well as other software companies like Rockerbox, Sisu, Viral Marketing, Boomtown, Dotloop. We have a ton of awesome vendors that are going to be there, not selling, but actually sharing with us what the future holds in the residential real estate space. And there's lots of changes. There's lots of different influencers right now in the space trying to vie for our business. So Gary, this was an awesome interview today. I know that a lot of people are going to have a lot of follow-up questions. And I love that you spoke to your product, not as a vendor, but more as a membership. I know that's how REIVault with Matt Wagner runs their organization. You're really part of this membership, this tribe, if you will. And there's a lot more value with that. I know you had mentioned you have an event that's a 3-day event once a year, some type of a summit. And the value I've seen, and Gary and I have been to a lot of these events together, it's not just the product that you're paying for, but it's also the relationships that you build, and you continue to grow and grow and grow in other areas that maybe you didn't recognize you needed to have growth in. So align with people like Gary Boomershine, and I guarantee you're going to see a lot more success in your life. So Gary, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of the things that's amazing. This market is constantly changing, right? What worked a year, 2 years ago is starting to change in today's market. We're finding that especially on the investor side. And the community that we've built, just like you have, Jeff, is really the power. We've got a private group that's constantly sharing new techniques and new things that are working. Like we're doing a multi-offer approach now that's been working where, 2 years ago it was an all-cash offer. And that the value of that community is huge. And so we're real protective of it. We're looking for really good, business-minded professionals, top producing agents. And it's definitely an invite-only group. So you want to make sure that you tell us that you came from the Team Building podcast or Jeff Cohn referred you. There are some specific marketing that we're doing just for the group that comes through Jeff. Get a lot of people that are tire kicker type of people that are kind of scarcity minded out of the investor world off of Facebook. And so we're really looking for the right people, invite only. So that's it, man. This is such a great market.
It's crazy. You wouldn't think like you're buying investment. People are like, be careful. You're buying in a seller's market. I'm like, this is the best time to buy.
It is the best. It is incredible.
Amazing. So awesome, Gary. Well, it was a pleasure to have you. I definitely know our audience is going to want to have you back. I look forward to seeing you in May here in Omaha and speaking at our upcoming event. And I wish you the best in Europe. I'll talk to you in May, but we wish you the best in Europe. I'm excited for you and your family to get to go on that trip.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.